Supernatural New Student. The story opens with Shibayama and 6 others discussing Tsukano, the new student who just transferred. One of them mentions that Tsukano seems to fit in with their group based on appearance, and Shibayama agrees, although he thinks Tsukano looks a bit strange. Just as he finishes speaking, Tsukano walks by, so they don't call him over to introduce himself. Shibayama asks Tsukano about the new school he just moved to, and Tsukano expresses that he really likes it here. Not just the school, but the whole city, as he feels there must be amazing and exciting things waiting for him. Hearing this, Hozotani comments that during her long time in this city, she hasn't seen anything amazing or exciting, and Shibayama agrees, as both feel bored after being in the city for so long. However, seeing Tsukano's interest in amazing things, Shibayama invites him to join a club they are forming for those interested in incredible topics, which they call the Supernatural Club. When Tsukano learnt about this, he felt even more excited, and immediately requested to join the club. Hozotani mentioned that he would be surprised to hear that Shibayama has magical powers, and is going to appear on a TV show. The more Tsukano learned about someone with magical powers being close to him, the more thrilled he became, asking Shibayama to show him his powers. Shibayama agreed to let Tsukano join the club, and said he would demonstrate his powers after school. While Tsukano was happily anticipating this, he suddenly caught sight of a strange flower that looked remarkably like a human eye. Shibayama and Hozotani, who had been at the school for a long time, also encountered this peculiar flower for the first time. Tsukano jumped up in excitement, expressing how happy he was to find something fun like this, before walking away. That day, Shibayama introduced Tsukano to the other members of the Supernatural Club, mentioning that he had tried to cut open the strange flower, and discovered it was indeed an eye. Another club member, Kitaka, who has the power to see spirits, focused on the strange flower, and said he sensed a spirit that had not yet found peace, a warrior spirit residing within that peculiar flower. Upon learning that Kitaka also had magical powers, Tsukano felt even more excited, thinking he would witness something amazing and incredible. Then Shibayama's demonstration of magical powers began. He took out a spoon and focused on it for a moment, and suddenly, the spoon broke apart effortlessly. When Tsukano saw Shibayama's magical ability, he exclaimed that it was amazing and wanted to try it himself. Shibayama advised him to concentrate on the spoon and visualize it breaking. In just a moment, Tsukano managed to break the spoon just like Shibayama did, leading everyone to believe that Tsukano also had magical powers. However, Tsukano revealed that he had no magical powers at all. He then demonstrated that if he bent the spoon back and forth repeatedly until it was almost broken, he could make it tremble slightly, causing it to break apart, as if using telekinesis. This event made everyone in the club question whether Shibayama's powers were just a trick. Shibayama insisted that he used telekinesis, and didn't want his friends to misunderstand him. Tsukano, hearing this, said that no one misunderstood because he didn't have telekinesis like Shibayama, so he secretly used a trick instead. The next afternoon, Tsukano talked to Mothoni about Shibayama, who had been isolating himself lately. Tsukano mentioned that it was understandable since the new student, Tsukano, had embarrassed him. However, Mothoni still believed that Shibayama used his telekinesis to break the spoon, while Tsukano used a trick, which was a different method. Mothoni casually remarked that if soldiers were like that, it would be great, which made Hozotani feel that Mothoni was not being fair to Shibayama. Before they could argue, Tsukano walked in and said he wanted to talk to Shibayama because he had sent him messages but received no replies. He then mentioned that while walking earlier, he discovered an amazing waterfall to the north of the school. Upon hearing this, both Mothoni and Hozotani were curious about when a waterfall had appeared near the school. Tsukano suggested that everyone should go see it together after school. When all the club members gathered, Tsukano led the way to the waterfall. Along the way, Hozotani remained skeptical, as she had never seen a waterfall in the school during her time there, but Tsukano insisted that the waterfall was real and something amazing to see. He encouraged everyone to listen closely to the sound of the waterfall, and they were all surprised to hear the sound Tsukano mentioned was indeed real. Finally, they all arrived at the waterfall, which had appeared out of nowhere, leaving everyone astonished by its existence. Shibayama, who had been silent after the spoon incident, finally spoke up, saying it was something supernatural. This made his friends happy that he had finally said something, and they thought he was serious about appearing on the TV show. However, Shibayama was not worried about that. He expressed concern that using telekinesis to break a spoon was not impressive, as it was something commonly seen. He wanted to find something new and different. At that moment, Tsukano interjected, asking if they knew that this waterfall was mysterious. He revealed that he had gone to the rocks beneath the waterfall that morning, but getting there was a bit dangerous. He then asked if they knew what happened to him afterward. As he finished speaking, Tsukano looked up at the sky and released energy from his palm, causing a bird flying by to fall dead in an incredible manner. Tsukano then told Shibayama that he could do this because he received power from the waterfall, and perhaps standing under the waterfall could grant them this magical power as well? These words amazed Shibayama as he gazed at the waterfall, unaware that Tsukano was watching him with a hidden intent. But during the next class, the teacher suddenly came in asking for Shibayama, who had mysteriously disappeared for almost 2 days. The teacher requested everyone's cooperation to help find him again. After school that day, all the club members gathered to discuss where Shibayama might have gone, especially since there had been so many strange occurrences, including flowers sprouting that looked like eyes, and the sudden appearance of the waterfall. When they ran out of ideas, Mosothani suggested that Kitakawa try using his spirit-seeing powers to help find Shibayama. However, he mentioned that he had not been feeling well lately, and sensed spiritual energy from the waterfall, feeling quite certain that Shibayama must be in the waterfall. Upon realizing this, they decided to go back to the waterfall. When they arrived, Mosothani asked again if Shibayama was really in that waterfall, because if so, she wanted to rush in to help. However, Jakawarat said it was too late, because Shibayama's spirit was already trapped there, and it was likely that his body was submerged at the bottom, making it even harder to retrieve. Upon hearing this, she felt sad that there was nothing she could do, and Takagawa mentioned that Shibayama might be worried about his own magical powers. Perhaps he jumped into the water to escape the pressure. After that statement, Jakawarat pointed to the waterfall, saying he could see Shibayama's spirit. At that moment, Sukontak suddenly appeared and said that was wrong. Shibayama did not commit suicide. In fact, he was trying to stand under the waterfall, hoping to gain some magical powers. But he fell in instead. After all these events, the club members began to feel anxious about the possibility of more frightening occurrences. However, before things could get worse, Suranok ran up from a distance, telling everyone that it was bad, because while he was out walking, he encountered something amazing again, and urged everyone to come see it with him. He mentioned that he found a mysterious lake about 1 kilometer away. When they all followed him to the location, they were shocked because the area that used to be a zone of... Now, the area had transformed into a lake, and the houses and people around had disappeared, shocking the friends. For Tsukano, he found it incredibly amazing, prompting Sutani to tell him to stop, and suggest that Shibayama might not be dead after all. The idea that standing under the waterfall could grant magical powers might have caused Shibayama to fall in and die. Tsukano felt that Mosothani was blaming him for Shibayama's potential death, so he laughed and said that it was possible Shibayama was still alive. However, Tsukano's laughter made everyone in the club wonder why he was laughing. Tsukano then explained that he could sense everyone's fear, but why should they be afraid of the supernatural? If they encountered something like this, it should be exciting and thrilling. He meant that they should enjoy it more, and of course, danger comes with the territory. But if they were afraid of danger, how could they experience the supernatural? Suddenly, a dinosaur-like monster emerged from the water in front of them, and Sukontak exclaimed that there it was, a giant monster from ancient times. Dinosaurs must really exist. After the events of that day, the members of the club began to distance themselves from the girls' competition, and gathered to discuss that the city had started to become unusual. Since moving in, strange occurrences had been happening continuously, and everyone agreed. While the girls were consulting each other, they were unaware that a hand was emerging from the waterfall. Moments later, they heard someone knocking on the door at night, leaving everyone wondering who would knock at such a late hour. But when they listened closely, they realized that the voice was none other than Shibayama's. He asked them to help open the door for him. Upon hearing this, Tani didn't hesitate to open the door, feeling happy that he was still alive. However, when she opened the door, she encountered the body of someone standing stiffly in front of the door. Seeing this, Tani was startled and quickly closed the door, but they remained confident that the voice was definitely Shibayama's. Upon further thought, they realized that the figure must be Shibayama's corpse. But before they could resolve their doubts, Shibayama's corpse burst through the door with force. When the three girls encountered the decomposed corpse, they all screamed and ran out of the house. But what they encountered as they ran out only deepened their confusion about where they were, as in front of them stood a mobile stone statue resembling a human. Beside it, they encountered a cosmic being who remarked that suddenly those stone statues had appeared in place of their home. Moments later, Suka appeared, stating that everyone truly deserved to be members of the Supernatural Club, and urged them to look at the ancient stone statue. The girls told Chijak that all of this happened because Suka was responsible, as Suka had turned this city into a bizarre world. However, Suka replied that he was merely someone searching for wonders, and questioned why he would create such things. During their conversation, Shibayama's corpse followed them, causing the girls to panic. In contrast, Suka said that Shibayama had indeed revived, and was truly alive. On Chijak's side, he was shocked to realize that the revived figure was Shibayama. At the same moment, Shibayama unleashed a beam from his fingertips towards Suka, but fortunately, Suka dodged in time. The excited girls remarked that this must be the power the waterfall granted Shibayama, as he had been there for so long. Even as a corpse, he could still wield power, leading to a battle between Chijak and Shibayama's corpse. At this moment, Kijitaka's expression changed, and he laughed like a madman, declaring that this time he would truly kill. He gathered all his power and shot it at Shibayama's corpse, which was hit by the full force, causing all parts of the body to shatter and scatter across the area. Suka remained excited, as if he were cheering for a main boxing match, revealing the truth that he knew what was happening. He had been standing there absorbing power from the waterfall and had seen everything from the beginning, including the moment Shibayama intended to stand under the waterfall but was pushed down by Kijitaka instead. Since everyone knew this, Kijitaka laughed and said, "So you know now?" He added that his claim of being able to see spirits was just a trick, but this power was real. He also mentioned that he was starting to like the strange world that Suka had created, and from now on, it would make the city more fun. However, upon hearing this, Suka apologized, saying he couldn't accept that. It was a bit unfortunate. Then the scene shifted to the next temple, where the students had already transferred schools and the city returned to normal. However, Shibayama did not come back, and neither did Chijak, who had also disappeared. There were rumors that Chijak was searching for Suka, but we still wondered about Suka, and what strange things he might encounter in the new place he had moved to. Scarecrow. The funeral of a young woman named Yuki was held, during which her father, Numata, struggled to come to terms with the fact that his daughter had passed away so suddenly. Relatives urged him to proceed with Yuki's burial, as delaying would mean she wouldn't reach heaven. To meet her father, this only deepened his sorrow, and he cried out Yuki's name. Since the funeral, her father has been visiting his daughter's grave regularly, until one day he encountered Toshio, Yuki's ex-boyfriend, whom he believes is the reason for Yuki's death. They argued, with Toshio stating that if the father hadn't opposed their marriage, this situation wouldn't have occurred, insisting that he loved Yuki. Shortly after, the father brought a nearby scarecrow to place at her grave, to keep Toshio away, saying that this scarecrow is meant to drive away someone like him. Seeing this, Toshio had nothing more to say, and left peacefully. However, not long after, the father, who visits his daughter's grave every day, noticed that the scarecrow placed at the grave had undergone a change. Suddenly, the scarecrow's face transformed into Yuki's face, leading the father to believe that this might be a miracle. He began to talk to the scarecrow, addressing Yuki, even though it did not respond. As time passed, people visiting the cemetery began to notice the change in the scarecrow that resembled Yuki. The father told everyone that his daughter's spirit must now inhabit that scarecrow, and she had come back to life, albeit unable to speak. He had previously tried to bring the scarecrow home, but it reverted to its original form, so he could only dress it in clothes that his daughter liked. Soon, the story of this father and daughter spread, attracting many villagers and outsiders to bury their loved ones at that cemetery, also placing scarecrows at the graves. Strangely, every scarecrow transformed into the likeness of the deceased, as if they had come back to life in this cemetery. However, there was a family that had just lost their beloved son, and the husband and wife had differing opinions. The husband believed that placing scarecrows was superstitious and would prevent the spirits from reincarnating, while the wife, still grieving for their son, tried every way possible to see her son's face again. This led to arguments and struggles over the scarecrow for a while. In the end, the husband allowed his wife to place a scarecrow at their son's grave because he felt sorry for her. That evening, he brought a bouquet to Yuki's grave and began to daydream about meeting Yuki again. In his dream, he asked her if she was truly alive and even proposed to her, disregarding what her father might think. When Yuki heard this, she asked for confirmation, and Toshio assured her that he would not leave her this time. However, at that moment, Yuki pointed at something and said, "Is it really like that?" When Toshio looked in that direction, he saw the scarecrow placed in front of her grave, which startled him awake. He realized he was at the cemetery and didn't even know how long he had been lying there. As he looked around, he saw scarecrows everywhere, creating a chilling sight. But what terrified him more was Yuki's scarecrow in front of him, staring at him, combined with the eerie atmosphere of the cemetery filled with scarecrows, making him feel almost paralyzed with fear. When he tried to run away, he found himself back at the same spot, and now Yuki's gaze towards him felt cold and sorrowful. The scene cuts back to the couple who buried their son and decided to place a scarecrow. However, when they returned to visit their son's grave, they were surprised to see that the scarecrow had a grim expression and seemed to be looking at the father. Upon seeing this, he scolded his wife for bringing the scarecrow and for placing it there in the first place. He then grabbed the scarecrow by the neck, intending to harm it, but his wife intervened, causing him to lose his balance. The scarecrow fell and pierced the father's heart, killing him instantly. Upon witnessing this, the wife's expression changed, and she exclaimed that he was the one who killed their son, believing it was her son's intention to take revenge on the one who killed him, referring to his own father. Meanwhile, Toshio lay motionless beneath Yuki's scarecrow, until that morning, when her father discovered them. When he moved Yuki's scarecrow off Toshio, he realized that Toshio had died alongside Yuki. As he looked around the cemetery, he found it filled with scarecrows. Those who longed to meet their deceased loved ones wished to be together forever. Realizing this, he placed Yuki's scarecrow back with Toshio's body, hoping that his daughter would find happiness, being with the one she loved for eternity,